Good evening, people. It's that time again. It's Saturday evening, so you know what time it is. It's Coveys GrassRootz show. How are we doing?
All right, mate. Long week. Looking forward to this one tonight. Invincibles. I know you're looking forward to this one as well.
I'm sure that won't be the first or last time that we'll be hearing that phrase, but again, it's going to be a big show tonight. Again, got some amazing cracking guests on tonight, mate. But first, before we get onto that, how have you been, though, man? How's your week been?
Yeah, all right. Not too bad, mate, to be honest. Finished up work Wednesday, Thursday, a couple of days off. So just chilling out, really. Just looking forward to tonight. It's pretty much what I do now. Look, that's what lockdown's become. Just do a bit of graft, a few days off to prepare for this. And then we go again.
There we go again. Those famous words. But yeah, listen. Like a lot of people have been saying that they look forward to this, and it's good that people have got something to look forward to during these times as well. But
of course.
Yeah, it's been a good one. Evening to Peter as well, who's joined us, and evening to everyone else who's joined us as well. Don't be shy. Please make sure you get involved in this conversation.
Yeah, definitely come on the comments.
Exactly, because we've got some absolute legends coming on tonight as well. So please don't be shy. Make sure you get your comments in the comment section below. And as always, keep on supporting, because we've got, I'm not going to say bigger and better guests, but we've got good guests coming on each and every week. So make sure you keep supporting as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, evening to you as well there, Jake, as well. See you guys.
All right, mate.
Doing your thing as well. But yeah, man, for me, it's been a busy week.
Big Seeps is locked in.
Huh?
Big Seeps is locked in as well.
Big Seeps is in the building as well. Evening to you as well, sir. But yeah, like this week, obviously, Gabriel Bonahor this week. Again,
mate, that was so good. That was so good. So gutted I couldn't come on. I was at work. Obviously, I was darting backwards and forwards at work, so I couldn't come on and join you. But I was watching it. I was watching on my phone, and I was sneaking off into a little office over here and an office over there, and it was just quality. What a great guest! Just so honest, and you know, what a humble guy as well.
Exactly. Open up about so many things. Even if it was just interesting to hear his way on how he was perceived in the media when he was playing, and obviously now he's on the upside. He's actually in the media as well, and obviously he's talking very highly about Jack Grealish as well, comparing him to even Iniesta levels. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, must think a lot of
him. On there. All right, Jay. All right, Rich.
Right, Sav. All right, Rich as well.
We've got, should we tell them about Harry and Meghan potentially coming on as well too?
I was thinking, when we discussed that one as well?
Well, a phone call from Piers. He asked to come on, and we was like, no, we're team Meg, mate.
Nah, mate. To be honest, he'll probably only walk out halfway through anyway, so it's probably But yeah, hopefully, again, as we said earlier, make sure you get your comments in, especially you Gooners as well, because you know the latter
two. A derby tomorrow as well.
Oh, of course.
Impeccable timing.
There we go.
Cold, mate.
You've got an absolute cold, have you? Keep it over there, son.
Oh, yeah, I think I might have a bit of corona.
Oh, God, don't say that, mate. Don't say that.
Coming out of lockdown, that'd be just my luck. Just as we're coming out, I'll get it. Yeah,
exactly. Oh, I'm going to ask you this question as well. So, obviously, we've got, about a week or two to go before we actually come out of lockdown. Yeah. How do you feel about midweek games? Because I put the question out earlier today because I'm curious. I just want to see who's on it.
Midweek games. I love midweek games. Obviously, at the step that I'm managing at the minute, we don't play any because the step that we're at, they don't have any floodlights. Well, most of the teams don't have floodlights, but midweek games, you can't beat it, mate. Managing, playing. You can't beat a midweek game under the lights.
Exactly that. And the only reason I asked is, I was going to say, the only reason why I asked is because obviously we've got a lot of making up to do. Obviously, some people are still going ahead, some people are null and void. There's some leagues that are kind of making up with it with midweek games. So there's been a lot of coming and on.
What I think they'll do in our league, in the Olympian League, is for instance, Swifts have played 9 games. So they'll get us to 50% of the games because this is what was agreed at the start of the season. If this scenario was to happen again, if there was a vote, what would you prefer to do? So the vote was, we'll play 50% of the games and then do points per game. So I think what our league will do is get everyone to play 50% of the games and then they'll end it again, and then they'll do points per game. But I think my take on it is that everyone's harping on about lower league clubs folding, going out of business if they can't have a revenue stream coming in.
Mm-hmm.
The steps above us have all stopped because of this very reason. They can't have a revenue stream coming in, so it's unfair for them to operate. But our step has to, they're being advised to operate. We're like probably the paupers of the whole of the football pyramid, and we're being told to carry on. So although we don't get many fans at our games, we do get a few, and we open up the bar and that them takings that they take behind the bar, that pays for the floodlight, not for the ref, for the pitch, for cutting the pitch, for taking care of the pitch, things like that, for washing the kits and that. But we've got, the club's still got to find money for all that.
Exactly.
Revenue stream coming in. So we've got a massive youth system at Swifts. So as a manager and the chairman of our club, we've got to think of the future of them. So there's no good us saying, oh yeah, let's go back because of players' mental health and whatever. Let's just start playing back and then we lose money and go out of business. That's no good to anyone, is it? Because then the kids that are playing at youth level have got nothing to aspire to.
No, exactly that.
Anyway.
Seems is saying only issue of midweek games is the non-sleeping after the game. Laughing emoji.
He's laying in bed thinking of all the welders he's done and all the ankles he's broke.
Rich is saying points per game doesn't suit us at all. Peter's trying to stir some trouble up. He's saying dual signings. What's your thoughts? Listen, we already done that one. Shout out to Self Podcast as always. Looking forward to this one, lads. We are indeed. Sorry, and shout out to Northwood Red under 13s as well. What's that you're sipping on there in the corner there? I see.
No, that's just a Diet Pepsi.
All right. Then you get sent a nice little glass as well.
Yeah. Nice little glass from the boys. No, they done your little vinyl thing, didn't they? With your
Yeah.
They gave me a little glass with just thank you on it from the boys.
No, I love that.
I really appreciate it.
No, that's really good. Okay, so it looks like our first guest is backstage now. Again, I'm going to allow you to introduce this guy because he's your guy.
Finlay Johnson. He's the Chalfont St Peter gaffer. He's probably a bit out of breath at the minute because he's doing 50 days of 5K. He's raising some money. Well, I'll let him speak about it when he comes on, but he's doing a 50 days of 5K, so he's probably struggling around about now.
Listen, I managed about a week and then I was done. But 50 days.
No, I don't think I've done that in 43 years. Kilometres in 43 years. Yeah, he's a good lad, mate. We'll have a chat with him now.
Wicked. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to bring him in and let's have a little chat. Now, bearing in mind, guys, I'm just going to disappear for a little bit. Doesn't mean that I've gone for good. I'm just going to disappear and leave these two lovebirds to get on and chat their heads off each other. So without further ado.
Where am I going? Yeah, this way. There we are. Hello.
Right, he's going now. He's popping off. He's had to pop off and have a get changed. How are you doing, Phil? All right?
Yeah, good, mate. Thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, I'm like hosting the show tonight. Whoa.
Yeah, you've been left on your own. I'm feeling a bit nervous now.
I see your tweets earlier. You went a bit heavy today, didn't you, with the old one?
So I went with a couple of former players, Luke Ilsey, Ricky Brennan, both at East Thurrock now. And Ilsey said he'd double his donation if I ran it in under 27 minutes. What he didn't tell me is that he was going to basically push me around the whole way. So, I'm struggling today. I can't lie. I'm struggling today.
And tell the viewers, I know I've read all about what you're doing. Just tell the viewers what it is you're doing and why you're doing it.
So what I'm doing is I'm running 5K for 50 days. We're on about day 13. The reason I'm doing it really is to raise money for a football boot fund for disadvantaged children. That could be anything from, sort of 3-5-year-olds to 15, 16-year-old kids. The main reason was because you'll know, anybody else listener will know, you have that feeling when you get a new set of boots is a special feeling. And obviously we've been through a tough time for a long time, and there'll be parents worrying about these kids that have grown up in the last year and where am I going to find the money to pay for a new set of boots, which aren't cheap these days.
Yeah.
where am I going to be able to do that for him, etc. So really it's about putting smiles on faces and boots on feet of boys and girls that would appreciate them.
Where did that idea come from? Did you just want to do something to give back, or have you always wanted to do something like this?
Yeah, so before COVID and all of that, I was registered to run the marathon in Edinburgh, and to sort of prepare for that, and then obviously that didn't happen, and it's been a while, and I've got around to doing this, but it's more off the basis of I've worked in schools in disadvantaged areas of London as a teacher. I've worked in academies, and that, as I say, that feeling of new boots is, it doesn't matter what your background, it's an amazing feeling of having that new set of boots and feeling like you're, Ronaldo or whoever else wears them.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really why I wanted to do it. As a one, I'd wanted to do some sort of running challenge in terms of the marathon, etc., and coming up with maybe a different way of doing it, where I'm not going to die all at once, just prolong the pain for 50 days, but to maybe get a bit more engagement and raise maybe more money than I would have if I'd have done something like that.
Yeah. And how can the viewers sort of find where to log in and where to make a donation and follow the progress? So
if they go on Twitter and they check the quote tweets on your guys' tweets here for the show itself, I've done a post linking it to the GoFundMe page, and if they can't find that, then they go straight to the GoFundMe and search 5K for 50 days Football Boot Fund. It will come up. If you'd like to donate, that's amazing. If you have some, very, very barely used boots or brand new boots that you've never used that you'd like to donate, you can also donate your boots. And if you know someone or of an organisation that would benefit from these boots, then please reach out, because we're at the point now where so many people have been so good to us in terms of donating and handing out boots, etc. The important thing once we finish this challenge and come out of lockdown is getting those boots to the right people. So, if you know someone, or it might even be someone that's listening that feels like you could be like, please feel free to reach out. I know that's difficult, and if you don't want to do that, that's fine. But if you do know of somebody or of an organisation that would benefit and have kids that we could give these boots to, that would be amazing. If you could get in touch and let me know, and I'm sure we'll be able to help.
And your Twitter is Finn Johnson at Finn Johnson 18, isn't it?
That's the one, yeah. That's the one.
Follow you there. You're always tweeting little links and your progress and of your runs, etc.
Yeah, it's just one a day to bore the time. I've become one of those really boring people that post their runs every day. Yeah, that's me.
You got someone watching here. Cam's watching. Says, "Go on, Finlay."
Yeah, this Cam's a mate of mine, fellow Watford fan, known him for years. I don't know if he'd want to do any running with me, but I think he'd just cheer me from afar,
Right, so we talked about your management, your time in management. Now, we first met when you was Hendon under 23s gaffer.
Yeah.
You came down to play against when I first took over at Epping. He was one of the first teams I actually played against when we was Epping. I can't remember the score though. I don't know if you beat us or we beat you.
No, I think you won. I think you won, and I think you won as well.
Yeah, we was impressed that day because he was a really good young footballing side, and obviously we followed each other's progress since then.
Yeah.
So how did this Chalfont gig come around?
It really came up from Hendon deciding that they couldn't run a 23s for the following season, so we had a group of lads, some of which had made it into the first team at Hendon, some hadn't, and were looking around, and I was left at a point in which I had to try and make a next move and make a decision, and obviously because of where Chalfont's based, a lot of those players could make it there, and I went for an interview process with whoever else went for it, and Dennis, our chairman, we got on like a house on fire really quickly, and it became something that he decided he wanted to bring me in. It was very much a case of I had to put myself forward to an application process, and managed to get through that way. It wasn't any links, didn't know of anybody really before then other than doing a little bit of research. Massive credit to Dennis at the time for taking a risk on some of myself. 23's experience only, just 30 at the time. It's it was a brave thing for a chairman to do, but I feel like we benefited. One of the probably smallest budgets in that division, and have coped, never really been in trouble, and are pushing on, doing really well. Some players moved on up the levels, which is mainly what we were trying to do. Can we come in? Can we bring young players through on a tight budget and compete as best we can? And if players move on from us and do better things, then it's a huge bonus.
Did you bring any of the Hendon boys over with you? Or?
Yeah. So we bought maybe about 5 or so. Some of them have gone on. A couple of them stayed and are in the first team at Hendon still, which is great. And then we had, so Ricardo and Khalil are probably the 2 most prominent that have stayed with us. Ricardo is
the one who played against us.
Yeah,
that is so good. I remember.
Yeah. So in terms of his ability on the ball, he's had a few trials at pro clubs, etc. And his issue at the minute is being able to step into the physicality of what is pro football from non-league. And my advice to him is, well, you need to play 30 games twice. And bless him, he's not been able to do that because the season keeps getting curtailed. So yeah, he's still with us, still working hard. And then Khalil, the forward again. That jump is a big jump, and I think we've got a lot of faith in both of them now and all the way through. But it'd be a case of them putting 30 games together in a season that finishes, and 2 years on or so, it's about now both of them past that age of 18. So they're looking at trying to get a pro deal from there, 23s or whatever.
Yeah. See, I spoke to a few coaches and managers about this same sort of thing. I don't think players do appreciate the change between academy under 23 and non-league football, even as far down as sort of step 7. It's such a difference when you're playing against men that have been there, done it, bought the t-shirt, and they're going to smash you into next week. I don't think I just think it's so good for players at a young age, 16, 17, 18, to get in a non-league experience under there. And some of them are coming up to, like, I know some boys 17, 18 years old coming up to like 50 games in non-league. That's going to be so good for their progression. And it will help them as higher up they go. So do you feel the same?
I do. I agree with you. And I think, you can draw the obvious examples. You got your Michael Antonios, your Nick Popes, Jamie Vardy's obviously that little bit older. Jamie Vardy was 25 when he was pro, non-league the whole way through that. £1 million from Leicester at 25 years old. So realistically, and I say it because I work in colleges and have obviously done the academy stuff, is that if you don't make it by 18 in terms of the academy thing, you start a non-league career, you've realistically got another period of around the same time, that 5-6 years from a kid into that system to have another go if you do it right. And if you go, and you go and play, you've got all of those years to work your way up. You've got individuals like Joe Kizzy at Bromley. Whether you know him or not, I don't know, but he was at likes of Barkingside, etc. Played lots of games. Then went Cheshunt, where I met him. Then went Wingate. Then went Billericay. Then went Bromley, and he's playing conference and is, and he's probably about 25 now. Yeah. He's got there through that system, and it's incredibly important. And I think players will go, "Oh no, I'm not really about that because maybe it's hard or it's difficult or whatever." But
yeah.
Pick your case study at this point. You pick out Premier League players, England internationals that have trod that path. There's nothing to say that couldn't be somebody we know, somebody we don't, that are taking them. And realistically, in the times that we're in, you consider the changes in rules when it comes to Brexit and bringing in foreign players. You consider the economic effect of COVID. These are the sort of boys that will be getting looked at, because the face of football is changing, and there will be opportunities. Take the Brentford B system of pulled boys out of Worthing, taking a boy from us, taking boys from. They did another one recently. I can't remember what club he was from, but it's about 3 or 4 boys have taken straight out of non-league into that Brentford B system, and they're step on. Possibly. And so they pick boys up. I think there was a lad, it may be the Tower Hamlets boys that went to Barnsley. I don't know, I can't remember. But it's happening, and pro clubs are switching onto it, and go, if he's going to cost us 30-40% less to play in the under-23s than a lad that's been released from Man United, but is at the same point and hasn't had that learning, but has had this learning, he's going to be worth more of a punt to us now than he ever was before. He's more likely to take that risk now.
Yeah. What I've seen over the last couple of seasons is you'll find quite a lot of big boys between 17 and 19 that are just chasing. They're chasing that pro club or that conference club, and they've only just come out of an academy or just not been offered a scholarship, but they're so determined to prove someone wrong. And they'd rather go, say, to a club at step 3 and never even have a look in, but train with them and still know, and they'll probably progress as a little bit technically because they're training with better players, but they won't. They feel like it's a bit underneath them playing at a lower level, rather than thinking to themselves, "Well, I'm going to get 2 seasons under my belt here as senior football," and they will get spotted. You don't know. Like even Matt Letizia said it last week. You never know who's watching you. You never ever know. So it's rather than sitting on a bench at step 3, step 2, never even getting a look in, never even getting 5 minutes, when you can go and get 90 minutes, 7, step 6, step 5. Surely they've got to be looking at that. They've got to be encouraged to do things like that.
Well, you never get scouted getting splinters, do you? That's the truth of it.
Exactly.
I think you had. Did you have Craig Heskey from Leyton Orient on a few weeks back?
Yeah, great guy.
So I had a conversation with him recently, and he said when his boys are coming up to release, and they say, "Okay, so what are you going to do next? Where are you coming out? Realistically, where do you think you can play?" And they'll go turn around and go, "Oh, conference."
Yeah.
And if you were going to play in the conference, you'd be playing for the first team. If you were 18 and they think you're good enough to play in the conference, you'd be playing there now.
100%. Yeah.
So, and it's not to say that it's not going to happen for you, but it's going to take longer for you than it is for someone else. So you're going to have to go and play. Now, there are admittedly limited opportunities for people in terms of non-league clubs that will take these players. As many players as fall out of the system, there isn't enough spaces for all of them, because you've got issues with managers playing players they don't know, taking on the risk of a young player in terms of his experience or not experienced, etc. But they are out there, and the truth is, you've got to, for anybody that's maybe listening or knows anyone like that, go and get found out. Go and make some friends in the game, and work. If it means you've got to train for 6 weeks before you get a sniff, go train. Go train, because you're not doing anything else. If you're not playing at 3 o'clock on a Saturday, you're wasting time. It's just the truth of it. So if you're not playing for your step 3 club, come play step 4. Yeah. I say to the college boys I work with now, your name needs to be on a team sheet so people see that name.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
most of these kids are getting let go because their managers at the parent club, the pro club, don't think that they can compete. Obviously, it's different being technically good enough and not being able to compete. Most of these boys at the academy level are technically good enough, or they wouldn't be at the academy. But being able to compete in a senior men's level is totally different from being technically good. And that's where they need the experience at these sort of steps and these non-league clubs. Even Jack has just come on down the bottom there saying we've still got 20 and 23-year-olds chasing the same dream even at women's level. So it does go on. It does go on. You just got to encourage that. Like Craig said when he was on, you just got to encourage that transition. That if you haven't been offered a scholarship, go and find a team where you're gonna get some minutes under your belt. Not 20 here and 20 there, and you appeared 6 times in a whole season because it was step 2. You think that's going to make your CV look strong? It's not. Just go and find a club and get 30, 40 games under your belt, and then see where you're at then. Judges.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you. And I think one thing I do think is I think we, as coaches, at times we will get a bit tired of that attitude in terms of what we're talking about. But there has to be a patience from our side as well.
Yeah.
In terms of, so one, you have to pick the ones you're going to work with, because you can't have a team full because you're not helping any of them then.
Yeah.
They need people around them, so you can't do that. That's not how it works, etc. You have to. I learned that. My first season, we probably almost went too young. Our average age was a joke, it's like 19 or whatever. We got to a certain point, but then actually by just drip feeding a few players that maybe that knew the levels, but knew they were here to compete for this level. This was their level, and the understanding of how important that is to perform, to win, and to do the right things in the right places. And we have to be patient because they can only do that by finding out, by being told, and by learning. So once you've picked the ones you're going to work with, back your confidence in them as a player, and keep that confidence when they drop away for 3 weeks because their levels aren't where they are. We can't turn around. We cannot expect these young players to go, come play, you need to play, and then not play them.
Yeah.
We can't do that because they'll go, well, I'm not playing you. I'm going to go off somewhere else. So pick the ones you're going to work with. We've got at our place at the minute, we've got Watford, Cambridge, Luton, and Oxford releases within 18 months of their release. Right. And we've also got boys that have Ricardo, Khalil, etc., never been in the system. Right. But if you walked into our group and you were going to pluck one away, I would be surprised if someone came and plucked out somebody that wasn't, academy experience before.
Yeah.
So it's about committing to their time and their development, because that is your responsibility from that point on if you're going to play young players.
Yeah. You've got Peter's just said don't get agents either, young players. Talk to them in Coveys, etc. Get the advice you need. And Jake's asking a question saying, do you feel playing non-league football would develop a player more than playing under 23? Well, yeah. We just spoke about. I do. Obviously, you've just explained that you do as well.
Yeah, and I think what I would say though is I think if that's your channel in, it's not to be sniffed at. Yeah. So if you're not playing, so take the 23s there. So we had boys that weren't getting in at Edgware who play at Hendon, who came and played for us and then played for Hendon because they've been seen in the right environment and it was done properly. The youth system that flowed through there was excellent, and they were given opportunities in the cups, in the senior cups and those sort of competitions, and there was a progression path. Yeah. We had a lad, we sent Chase Grant, we sent the London Tigers. The manager turned around and went, oh, he's not for me, his attitude's not right, etc. The lad's been playing step 3 for the last 2 seasons.
Right.
So 23s is a viable connection point within your career as a young player, as long as it's at a place that will have a look at you if you're doing enough.
Yeah.
Otherwise, go play.
Yeah. Okay, mate. Well, we've got other guests waiting now. Sorry that we ran a little bit behind.
On the warm up.
Not bad warm up, to be fair. Not bad warm up.
Listen, for the guys you've got on tonight, it's an honour to be on the same tweet. I tell you what, don't get tagged in the Coveys tweet. Your phone keeps going.
Before you go, mate, we obviously ask this quite a lot. Just give us some. Obviously, you're an experienced manager now. You've worked with some really good players. I've seen it firsthand. Just what advice would you give a young player who's just coming out of lockdown now and getting back to it? How would you keep their mind and body sort of strong?
Well, so in terms of advice, I think a lot of the time, you ever feel like you're having that conversation with someone and they're thinking about what they're going to say next without actually listening to you?
Yeah.
I feel like we get that a lot.
Yeah.
Now we get that a lot more, and especially with your social media and etc. That's almost like a written format of that situation when you're with somebody.
Yeah.
So my advice to any young player that's worrying about where to go, etc., is to listen to people you trust and really listen. So if it's something that you don't like to hear, listen to it anyway and take it on board, because we get you get a lot of situations that listen to the wrong people. There's a comment about agents. There are some good ones, right? But there's a lot of people out there that are trying to lead you down the wrong path because it benefits them. So listen to people you trust, and if you're not sure, ask.
Yeah.
You know, I can tell you to play. I can tell you to go play step 5, or I can tell you to go play under 23s, or I can tell you to do that. But whatever the correct path is for you, you need to take that and back yourself to be a top player within whatever environment you step into. And you're not going to do that if you don't listen and take on criticism and grow.
Great advice, mate.
Wise words.
Yeah, and thank you for coming on. That'll be clipped. I'm going to clip that little bit. That's going to be like.
There you go. There's your soundbite.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me on, guys. Thank you very much indeed.
Good luck with your GoFundMe page, and get following at FinnJohnson18 and donate if you can, please.
Thank you very much, guys. All the best. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. There we go.
All right, mate. Feel better now?
Feel much better.
In all the comments, just in all the comments saying, "Oh, it's much better without Clint" and all that.
Oh yeah. As soon as my back turns, you lot. Yeah, I see you lot. Anyway, I'm back now, whether you like it or not.
I felt naked. I felt like come on.
No, it was good. It was good. I was listening in the background as well, so it was good. But we have our next set of guests now. I'm going to let you do the honours, because seeing as you are the gunner here, couple of absolute legends, invincibles. What more could you want? When you're a manager and you're growing a management team, it's so important to have, obviously, build a strong team around you and have fantastic people. And Arsene Wenger and George Graham, they've done this to perfection with these two, because the longevity they both shown at the club, and how highly regarded they are at the club, just speaks volumes. So it's Gary Lewin and Vic Akers. Here we go.
How you doing, fellas?
Evening,
gents. All right, Bill.
Good evening. All right, Vic.
Good, man.
Here we go. Oh, look, 2 shirts behind you, Gary.
Yeah, I've put myself in the den because the people next door making a bit of noise, so I got out of the way. So,
cool.
But yeah, I've got some memories. I've got a lot of Vic as well. It's the first time I've seen him dressed properly in about 50 years. So I bet he's got a pair of shorts on under there.
I bet he's still got shorts on.
Yeah.
No, I haven't. I've got tracksuit buttons on. I'm all right.
So how are you guys doing?
You guys don't realise about how far me and Vic go back. I mean,
no, that's right.
It's Vic that introduced me to my wife.
Exactly.
Wow. 35, 36 years ago. I've never forgiven him, but he introduced me in the first place. Yeah.
He was only 15 at the time.
Well, I first met Vic when I was 9. When I was 9 years old.
That's right.
About 10 years ago.
11.
Yeah, that was at the JVC Centre, the Arsenal soccer schools.
Right. Yeah.
So that was, and then obviously I was mascot for the David O'Leary testimonial.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was a good day as well.
That must have cost the old man a few quid.
Yeah. So we'll talk to, obviously we'll start with you, Gal, first, if that's all right. Just about how you because you came to Arsenal. Not a lot of people know this, and I didn't know this until a friend of ours, Emma Stone, who works at your clinic, she's a sports therapist at the Lewin Clinic.
Yeah.
She's mentioned that you first went to Arsenal as a goalkeeper.
Yeah, and that's where I first met Vic, because at the time Vic was doing a lot of coaching and scouting for the club, and I was seen by an old scout who's not with us anymore, Bill Graves. And I first signed for Arsenal in '78 as a 14-year-old schoolboy, because we didn't have these flashy academies in those days. You went to a club during the school holidays and played a lot of trial games, and when you were 14, you decided which club you wanted to sign for. So I was fortunate enough for Arsenal to offer me schoolboy forms, and I signed there at 14. I signed the apprenticeship at 16. Got released when I was 18. I did a few months pro, but that was only to get me to the end of the season. And then I left when I was 18. And obviously that's where that's where I first met Vic. Vic was coaching a lot of schoolboys. He still had a great left foot in those days, so he used to take a lot of the sessions. And then I got released by the club, and I went and played at Barnet. And I heard your last speaker talking about even many years ago about finding your level to play at and play. And when I was at Barnet, I couldn't get into the team, so I ended up going on loan to Cheshunt and playing the last 15 games of the season at Cheshunt.
Right.
And then I got accepted to train as a physio, and then obviously the rest is history.
So it wasn't an injury or anything like that stopped you playing. It was just a choice of career.
No, it's that bad luck of not being good enough.
I say that now. You was a good keeper, Gaz. Come on.
Yeah, you wouldn't play for Arsenal if you was a bad keeper.
Yeah, I mean, I had the choice at 18, and Vic would know a lot of these guys. And again, talking about the guy that you had on before, and talking about people you trust and that can mentor you. That's at Arsenal at the time. There was a kit man called Al Fields, ex-Arsenal player. Very, very knowledgeable man, very sensible guy. And the first team physio was Fred Street. And when I was released at 18, they both said to me, "What are your plans?" And with my sensible head on, I decided to get qualified in a career. Didn't know what that would be. And they both said to me, "Why don't you think about going into physiotherapy?" So Fred Street, who ironically at the time was the Arsenal and England physio, got me to go to Guy's Hospital and have a look around, and I got the bug for it. So the problem I did have is I had no A-levels. So I done all my, what were GCSEs nowadays, in those days were O-levels. So I had to go back to school. And again, in those days, if you fail your A-levels, you could go back and do a third year. So I went back as a third year sixth former to take my A-levels in 1 year. And that's when I signed for Barnet and played for Barnet. Scraped through those, and the cunning plan I had was to get qualified in a profession whilst I carried on playing, and try and get back into professional football through the league setup. But things changed slightly. Fred retired. A physio called Roy Johnson moved into the club and asked me if I fancied working with the reserve and youth team whilst I trained as a physio. So from 83 to 86, and this is where Vic introduced me to my wife, Mag, because I used to do some part-time work at a squash club that Vic used to manage, just to try and earn a few extra quid. And I used to do 9 till 5 at the hospital, Monday to Friday. I used to do evening training with the schoolboys 3 or 4 nights a week, do some work in Vic's gym whenever I could, and then go with the reserves on the Saturday, schoolboys on the Sunday. And did that for 3 years. And then George Graham became the manager in the summer of 86. Him and Roy fell out in September of that year, and they invited me to go full time. So that's how I started. Really, I've just been at Arsenal. Until I went with England, I didn't know anyone else apart from working for Arsenal.
Yeah, wow. He was a proper face of the club, to be fair. And that's probably why you are so highly regarded still by Arsenal fans all over the world. It must be quite an honour. You see, every time there's a picture of an Arsenal dugout with Arsene Wenger, whether it be George Graham, you two, isn't it?
It's either that or right, he's having a fight with someone and I'm trying to drag him away. It's normally one of those people.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Gary, had you knocked the whole footballing thing on the head in terms of actual playing, when you became...
Again, in my very short career, I had some decisions to make. And when I was 19, the plan was to train as a physio and carry on playing. I've done my coaching badges as well. and being a goalkeeper, I did goalkeeping coaching at the same time. And then I had a decision when Arsenal come back and said, do you want to come and work part-time? Because in those days, you didn't have to be a chartered physio. You could just be what they called the old-fashioned sponge man. As long as you had a first aid certificate, you could work in football.
Yeah.
And so I had a choice to make. Do I not take that opportunity and that experience and carry on playing, or do I forfeit the playing and take a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get that hands-on experience in elite sport? I mean, ironically, that season, when I started training between 83 and 86, I think I played about 20 reserve games. There was one game at Norwich was hysterical where I was playing in goal and I was also the physio. and I had to run on bag in the net, in the goal net, and we had to explain to the referee if anyone went down, I might have to go on and treat them. So, yeah, so that's some funny experiences. Yeah, exactly. They did give me twice the money, though.
That gives me my opportunity to trial and do a sports therapist course as well. And he was the one who talked me into doing it as well over a couple of years, 3 years, in fact, at Lillishall.
Yeah, and, Vic had his coaching badges. He had loads of experience in football, but it was just another feather in his cap. And we talked him into doing the old FA diploma, Vic, didn't we? Which was it was a hard course, and you had to do a lot of studying. And I remember Vic doing it, and the time that Vic was doing it, all the Liverpool backroom staff were doing it. So Phil Thompson, Roy Evans, Phil Boardman. There was a lot of ex-players doing that.
Tottenham.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, they were
grateful for that. He put me through that, Gary, and it was a good experience for me.
Yeah.
You had some standout moments, Gal, that I remember as an Arsenal fan. One being involving David Rocastle, God bless him, when he swallowed his tongue. And you obviously, you nearly had to break his jaw to release to. Yeah.
I mean, to put the record straight, you don't swallow your tongue, but that's the way it's reported in the papers, as you know.
Yeah.
No, he was knocked unconscious, and that was at Millwall, the old Den. That is one place and a half to go to. They don't experience that nowadays.
Yeah.
So what you do is you do a jaw thrust on them to open up the airway, relax the tongue, and clear the airway. If you can't get it out, the force you sometimes have to use, you can accidentally break their jaw. You don't do it intentionally, but you can do it. And I had, I suppose, the misfortune, you'd say, rather than fortune, of experiencing that several times in my career.
Yeah, it was John Terry, wasn't it? The other one when you was just
John Terry. Yeah, I'd been on. It was the League Cup final at the Millennium Stadium, and I'd been on to treat Manuel Almunia, so I was behind the goal when Chelsea had a corner, and John Terry decided to head Abu Dhabi's foot and knock himself out. And so I treated him. Do you remember Steve Ball? His brother Gary Ball played for Barnet. It happened to him at a game at the Underhill in a reserve game once.
Right.
So yeah, it's unfortunately it's happened a few times, but not. I mean, in 35 years, not many, thankfully.
Yeah. And the other moment was your World Cup moment against Italy.
Yeah, that's definitely the final chapter in the book when I fractured dislocated my ankle celebrating the goal against Italy, which we ended up losing. So yeah, I got sent home early from Brazil on that trip and had about 5 hours of surgery on the Monday. Unfortunately, the team followed us a week later. It wasn't a great tournament for us. So,
jeez.
Yeah, not good nights.
Was another moment as well when when Eduardo broke his leg? He was there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was at Birmingham. Yeah, that was happened in the first 3 minutes of the game, and he had a dislocated fracture, open fracture of his lower leg, and yeah, that was a nasty one. They're the ones you don't want to see. They're the real nasty ones.
Yeah.
So he nearly lost his leg, right? That's that what was reported?
Yeah, I mean they never let the truth ruin a good story in the papers. There is a 1 in a million chance he could have lost his leg, but what you're doing is I now teach for the FA advanced first aid for people that go on the pitches, and the course is about life-saving and limb-saving situations. And what we mean by limb saving is maintaining the blood flow and the nerve supply to the foot. And when you immobilize a foot like that, that's what you're looking to do. You realign it, you make sure he has a pulse in his foot. You make sure he's got sensation in his foot, and by realigning, you protect those pathways. So that when they can get to hospital and the surgeons do their job, then the foot's in a good condition. So yeah, that's what you do. But you know what the papers are like; they do over dramatise things. And yeah, in theory it was, but in practice it wasn't. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah. What was the Santi Cazorla situation with his injury? And
well, I blame my cousin for that one because I wasn't there. That was after me. I left in 2008. But from what I understand, is that he had an Achilles problem. He had a series of injections when he was in Spain, which almost degrade the quality of the skin around the Achilles. And when it didn't the Achilles didn't heal properly, they decided to do the surgery. But unfortunately, because a lot of the injections he had, the skin wasn't in a really good place, and so he got an infection. And that's another one. He had to have a skin graft and a repair to the tendon, and it took him a long time. I think it took him about 18 months to recover. And he ended up leaving Arsenal, carried on playing. But so yeah, that looks a nasty one from the outside looking in.
Yeah. So you got a question there from Jay for Gary as well.
Yeah, it says, Gary, have you ever had a player completely ignore any advice given by you? And if so, how did you react?
On a weekly basis. Vic's laughing because he knows what players are like. What you got to remember about professional footballers, they ask as many people as they can until they hear the answer they want to hear.
Yeah.
Now, what you got to remember in the medical world is that we are there to advise. We can, under the current regulations, like for concussion or other things, absolutely say they mustn't play. But at the end of the day, every person has their right to decide. What then happens is the club have to make a decision on whether they're prepared to take that risk or not. All you're doing is you're giving them advice and doing a risk assessment on what the problems would be if they did play. Don't get me wrong. If they've got a really serious underlying health issue or injury and you say they shouldn't play, they won't play. The sort of things you're talking about is players coming back from injury and you think it's too early, or players that have got a slight injury and your advice is they shouldn't play because they could make it worse. That's in a consensus. That's where you discuss with a player, you discuss with the manager, and you discuss with them the worst case scenario is the best case scenario. I mean, one of the classic cases of that, I wasn't there, but it was after I'd left, and it was documented quite a lot, was when Cesc Fabregas had a leg injury and he played against Barcelona, and he ended up scoring a penalty in the last minute, and then he pulled up with an injury that he'd had before the game. And then the medical team got a bit of criticism of why should he have played, and well, the answer back was it was a consensus. There was a risk element to it, but he ended up scoring the equalising goal in a game that could decide how successful your season is. So elite sport is not only about yes and no's, it's a lot about maybes. And so a lot of the work the medical teams do is about risk assessments. And you're weighing up the risks and giving a reasoned answer to the coaches, to the player, because the players have to be informed fully of what the consequences would be.
Yeah.
Got a question here from Richard. He says, who is the biggest diva who played for Arsenal that needed the most looking after, like special treatment?
There's several. I'm not sure I should name them. Vic will know most of them because they're the same with their kit as they were with their medicine. Right, I'm going to answer this very diplomatically.
Gary, give us one at least. Come on.
They say divas. I would say highly tuned athletes that needed everything to be spot on for them. And that doesn't mean they're divas. They're not. In general, footballers need a lot of looking after. Some need more than others. And I'll give a couple of examples. I mean, I was an apprentice with him, Martin Keown. Martin Keown is somebody that you'd want in the trenches with you. He would die for the club. but he was high maintenance. He was one of those people that wanted reassurance all the time that if he had a little niggle, it was going to be okay. And as long as you did that with him, he was fine. Freddie Lundberg was very, very similar. And I know Freddie was very demanding on Vic with his kit. And he was the same with us. He had to be right. He had to be, everything about him had to be right. And then you compare it to people like Tony Adams or Steve Bold or Lee Dixon, they would play no matter what. And if you're telling them they shouldn't, they would look at you with that stare as if to say, who do you think you're saying that to? I'm playing. So, yeah, I wouldn't use the word diva. I would say high maintenance and low maintenance.
That's a very diplomatic answer there, Mr. Lewin.
It's no good getting older.
Got another one here from Simon. Says, how many players have you come across who feign in niggles, etc., so as not to play for whatever reason?
I would never say players have feigned injury. I would say that players have got very anxious and stressed over minor issues. And what I mean by that is, and it comes back to what I said earlier, that especially nowadays with the stress, I mean, they live in a goldfish bowl, and you can have one bad game nowadays and it's front page, back page. Whereas when I first started in football in the 80s, normally the only time the manager changed the team is through injury. And you weren't on the TV 24/7. You weren't in the newspapers 24/7. And so you could play in a game with a niggle and be at 80% and you'd get away with it. And nobody would say a word. Even if you had a bad game, you wouldn't get pulled up on it. Whereas in the modern game, unless they're 100% right, it shows up and they will get heavily. I mean, I've been involved many a time when a player has been unfairly criticised for a poor performance. People on the outside actually don't know that he probably shouldn't have played, but he played for the benefit of the team. And it's thankless nowadays. So I would say I would say they've not feigned injury, but there are players that have had minor knocks that could prevent them playing. So I don't think the players want to play. I got a great bit of advice from Arsene Wenger when he first come to Arsenal, because under George Graham, and again Vic will laugh at this, under George Graham, we trained at London Colney, which we hired from the UCL. In the afternoons, all injured players had to go back to Highbury. And Geordie's attitude is, if you make life as difficult as you can for the injured players, they won't want to be injured. Yeah. When Arsene come on board, he was the complete opposite. And he said, do not waste your time treating players who do not want to get better. That's my job, to move them on. Focus on the ones that desperately want to be a footballer and play. Don't waste your energy on the others. And it was a complete opposite from two people. And you could actually say both were right in their attitudes.
Yeah.
But both got the same results in that it was about getting players to play.
Yeah.
Seems like he knows what he's talking about.
Talking about players, Vic, you weren't a bad player, to be fair, was you?
I was average.
You had looking at your appearances and some of the clubs you played for, over 200 games for Tunbridge. And one of the statements on there as well was you were so good at in your position as left back that they played Malcolm McDonald, who was also left-footed, at right back.
That's right, yeah.
Wow.
So well, obviously you weren't a bad player then.
That was one of my better times, Tunbridge.
And then you played for a couple of others after that, Cambridge United, Hayes, Watford. And then you won the treble at Slough. Is that right?
That's right, yeah. Enjoyed every minute of it. You know, that's the thing. I mean, fortunes being paid out then, as you know, or your dad knows. But most people who play football play because they love it, and that was the difference. You know, whereas today it's not quite the same.
Yeah.
People don't have that same desire.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the football's fault, because we pay, people so much money and young boys especially. And I was interested to listen to the guy before, like Gary was, about, giving kids advice and things like that, which I did often at the Arsenal when we had the young players coming through, the boys. And I think one of the shows out at this moment in time is the boy Willock, who's gone to Newcastle.
Yeah.
Because he's gone to Newcastle and he's playing on a regular basis, you can see the difference in the lad, and he'll admit, himself, that he probably wasn't the best trainer, as it were, and he was late and things turned up late at times, and he was always getting reprimanded in that. And I said before I left, listen, if you want a career, it's in your hands. But you've got to, take it on board what people are saying to you, and go from there. And I was so pleased when he went to Newcastle, because I felt that's a great opportunity for him here, because he'll play more often than he won't, and under Brucey, and he's got a real chance, And I've seen about 3 or 4 of the games that he's played in, and he's done exceptionally well, especially the last one. So
Clint's a Newcastle fan, so he's feeling the benefits of that.
Yeah.
I mean, he scored on his debut, so
that's right.
You can't do better than that, can you? Really?
Well, I thought he was outstanding the other night. So in that game as well.
So they're both of you in them sort of positions at football clubs where you're probably closer to the players than the manager and the coaches are, because the players would probably come to you two and go, "Oh, he's a prick, Arsene Wenger." No, so who was your closest sort of player to both of you? Who was your sort of your go-to?
Okay.
I think it's just different. I mean, I call it the football family. You become part of a family, and Vic would be in the dressing room day in day out, where they're moaning and groaning about anything from food to travel to managers to coaches to whatever, and then they come and moan in the dressing room. And I think what you learn from experience, and Vic used to be crucial for this because of his football experience as well. Yeah. You would actually understand what the players want to get back to the management and what players don't want to get back to the management.
Yeah.
And you'd pick the little snippets out that they're telling you because they want it to get back.
Yeah.
Or the times when they are generally in a bad place and they just need someone to vent off some steam. And it would happen all the time with both of us. And players were different. I mean, me and Vic come through the eras of like the Steve Bolt, Nigel Winterburn, and Martin Keown, and they were winners. They would moan and groan because they weren't winning a game. And then you'll get other players that would moan and groan because it was everyone else's fault and they weren't getting the opportunities. Now, again, from experience, and Vic will probably tell you the same, in that you've got to pick the right opportunities and the right way to speak to them, because once they go over that white line, they've got to be in the right frame of mind to play. And there'll be times where both me and Vic would say things to almost pacify players, thinking, Christ, they're talking out their backside again, but let's pacify them because we've got to win today. And even things like players would come off and, I'm having a bad game, I haven't done this. And you would hear Vic say to them, "Oh, don't be silly. Don't you remember that cross you put in?" Or, "Look, the guy's running off you. Stay with him." And I think that's what used to happen a lot with the backroom staff when we were a tight family. I mean, I left Arsenal in 2008 to go with the England team. And so it's changed dramatically at the club since I left. Not for the good, I don't think, in a way that just there are so many staff. And whereas when you have a really tight, close staff, you become a tight family and players would trust you and talk to you. Whereas now, I mean, they have a coach behind the team bus now to put all the staff in. Yeah. So who should the turn to?
With the Tottenham program on Amazon, like it looks like every single player had a physio working on him.
Yeah. So, I mean, I left in 2008, and there was myself and Colin, my cousin. And we just moved the academy physio up to help us out to do more of the rehab. So at a push, you're saying 3 of us were working. We had 2 masseurs, 1 fitness coach. I think at the moment, Arsenal have got 4, maybe 5 physios, 3 masseurs, 3 fitness coaches, full-time doctor, 2 full-time doctors, full-time nutritionist, and it goes on unless, I mean, Vic will know better because he's obviously been there more.
Another one.
Psychologist, yeah, psychologist, nutritionist. Now, don't get me wrong, in the present elite game, a lot of these things are needed, but my issue with it is it dilutes the reporting pathways. It dilutes the focus on the team. I mean, when we won the league in '89, I was full-time, George Graham was full-time, Theo Foley was full-time, the kit man before Vic, Tony Donnelly, was full-time. That was it. There was 4 full-time staff. The rest of the staff were part-time.
Yeah. And then with them 5 physios, they're not all going to agree on the same.
Well, you have one lead. You have one lead with the doc that talks. But you're right. They will. And what you'll find is players will go to each one and ask the same question until they get the answer they want to hear.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you end up with. Yeah.
So you end up with a bit of confusion, don't you, Vic?
A little bit.
Yeah.
So Vic, we can't have you on here without talking about the most successful Arsenal manager in the history of Arsenal. Arsenal ladies legend. Obviously, when I met you at the soccer school.
Yeah.
Just after, I think it was just about a year after that, wasn't it? And you introduced the Arsenal ladies side, and it just went bang from there, didn't it? The trophies came in thick and fast. And
I started in '87 because I was employed under Don Howe, God bless him, as a sort of community officer in the JVC Centre.
Yeah,
which I did then. All sorts, elderly people coming in, as you know, the competitions and that we used to hold in the JVC Centre, 7-a-side games and things like that, which loads of people enjoyed, and the Sunday night ones as well, which your dad would understand and know about.
Yeah.
It was a lovely job, but equally, Don employed me under that sort of auspice, but he also wanted me to go out and scout. So I used to go and scout opposition that we would be playing the next week. So wherever it was, I would travel, to the ground where they're playing, watch the game, and get reports in for the Monday morning to Don to prepare for the next week's game. So I really enjoyed that. That was really good. And from the girls' side, we started up. I had a girl actually working for me that was a girl player, and I had a few young girls who lived in the sort of Angel area, Chapel Market, excuse me, who were also young sort of footballers, budding footballers, and they all came in and did the similar thing that you're saying about the schools, and enjoyed that. And asked if there could be a women's team, and we thought about it, and I spoke to the girl that was already a player, and she said it would be a good idea because their team was getting to the sort of older age group, and may we say, and they were looking to probably meet up or mix up with some younger girls. So that's what we did. And I went to David Dean and I said, David, have you had any thoughts about, making a women's side? And he went, he said, I'll put it to the board. And he did. And Ken Fryer and that supported it as well. Another lovely man that's, still in the club, or not quite working, but still with us. And that's what happened. And they backed me then from straight away, and from the girls going a bit sort of paying for subs and for every game they play was amazing. And we had 3 teams in the end at that sort of late 80s, and then won our first FA Cup in 1993. With with one of those young girls playing at left back and who also played for England, Michelle Curley. Yeah, so that's the way it developed, and obviously to the present day, you can imagine the money is just madness, absolute madness.
Yeah,
I would think, looking at it from the outside in now, which I don't know, but I would have thought there's £2 million minimum to sort of back the side, like, you know, and that's why it's difficult in the women's game, because there are only 4 or 5 teams that are able to do that and back the teams with the money as well. Obviously Chelsea, Man City, Man United, and Arsenal. They're the 4 that will always be its moment in time, because there's such a gulf between them and the rest. So it will always work out that way. Although I must say, I've seen some of the other sides that in the league, you know, the likes of Reading and people like that, who've done a great job, and obviously Everton as well. But Everton were good when I was involved as well.
Yeah,
so they still don't have the funding that the other 4 do.
Do you still follow the ladies' game, Vic?
Yeah, I still follow it, and still try and involve myself in a sense, but obviously not with Arsenal, because they didn't want me to do anything. So once I retired, it seemed that most of the staff, the Arsenal staff, were moved on. I think you agree with that, Gaz, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm involved with them now. I've gone back to them. When I had a year at West Ham. When I left West Ham, when I first left England, I had a year doing private work, and the physio at the time, that I'm not sure whether Vic employed or not, but she went on maternity leave. So I did 6 months at the club and went in time with the ladies.
Yeah.
Women as they are now, we mustn't call them ladies now, they are women. And then
that's what we won all the trophies under, ladies.
Yeah. Then I went back in 2018 and did another cover because the physio left. And now I am a consultant there, and I do between 8 and 12 hours a week with them. And it's changed dramatically. Vic's right. It's actually probably a bit more subdivided than Vic mentioned there, in the Man City and Chelsea. Their losses on their women's teams are probably 3 or 4 times what Vic said. I would say Arsenal's are probably double what Vic said. But they're the ones that are. So you've got Man City and Chelsea that are the leading 2. Then you've really got Arsenal and Man United that come below that, and then you've got everyone else below that. But the game's changing dramatically. They've gone professional now. They're full time. They get a lot more funding through the FA, because we're at success at international level with the teams. And the league, I believe, is going to Sky next year as well. It's moving from BBC to Sky, yeah. So there is some talk. How true it is, I don't know, that the league might move from the FA to the Premier League. So there's always that speculation. As I said earlier, you never know if it's the truth or not, because it's media speculation. So the game is getting much, much, much bigger. But nobody would ever be as successful as Vic was. As you say, he's the most successful Arsenal manager of all time.
Yeah.
I just want to get back to that, Vic, something that you mentioned earlier, that you're not currently part of Arsenal setup or have not been invited back. I find that kind of strange, because as you just mentioned there, Gary, that you are, you know, such a legend at Arsenal and you're the most successful manager there has been, but yet they've not invited you back. Like,
no, I asked at the time, once I was, because I'd already put my my letter in before the gaffer was going to go and stuff like that, because I'd already told him the year before in America, when we went to America, I said, Gaffer, I'll do 1 more year. I said, and I'm going to retire. So he went, all right, Vic. He said, we'll see how we go. Anyway, I ended up doing 2 years, but you know, because I love the club, and obviously, you know, working at Arsenal was a fantastic situation for me. But then, you know, obviously the gaffer it looks ominous, but I'd already put my letter in. So obviously then everybody around him seemed to be going. In the last month or so, everyone seemed to be going out the door. That was his staff. And I think that was probably, you know, meant to be for some, but it wasn't. It wasn't a nice time to be there.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I think that's the sad side of football. I mean, I experienced it when I left the FA. They brought a new head of performance in, and they cleared all the backroom staff out. I think when I left, the decision was made upstairs that they needed a fresh start. The sad thing about it is that you can't calculate how invaluable that amount of experience that they're throwing under the bus is. Yeah. And unfortunately, I think this is football in general. And it's now a business. I mean, I keep using the phrase "football family."
Yeah,
we used to be a family. I mean, I still speak to Vic regularly, some Paul regularly, and people like Paul Johnson, Arson, David Dean, Mr. Fryer. We still speak regularly now because you were a family. I don't think that's the case now. I think it's now a business. I think you have to accept that when you're working in it. It is a business. Going back to the women's side of it, I think Vic mentioned there, you went to David Dean and Ken Fryer and suggested it, and they did it because they thought it was right for the club. Not because, this is a money-making opportunity that it can generate money into the club. They did it for the right reasons, that it was good for the club and it was good for football. And unfortunately, nowadays, in the age we're in, it's more about what's value does it bring to the club rather than being part of the football family.
In the position you was in back then as well, Vic, if you'd done that as an equivalent now, you probably wouldn't even get the opportunity to speak to someone on David Dean's level, would you? Now?
Maybe not. No, you can't really say. You can't really tell, but I wouldn't have thought so. No, there aren't too many.
Watching baseball.
Sorry?
They're all in America watching baseball half the time, aren't they?
Yeah, probably. No, there's still David Miles, I think, who's still around, but he would probably be the only one, I think. That
and there's still a Lewin and an Akers in the dressing room, isn't there? Now?
Yeah. My son still, he does the kit, obviously.
Yeah.
He took over from me, so that was fine.
Yeah, he learned being tight from his old man as well.
Yeah, exactly.
we had the question earlier.
We take Gary off.
We had the question on there from Richard Bennett earlier, and I was going to ask it anyway. But I don't know if you have this. There's a thing in non-league about cut socks, players that want to cut their socks. I don't know if you ever had that in a professional dressing room. Was everybody cut? Or did you have the same problem in the change rooms?
Yeah, it was. Every individual's different. So you would have maybe a third of the group that wouldn't cut socks, but the rest would. And it got messy in the end. It was in the end we actually had socks made, with no foot. So
who was the first player to ever come to you and ask them to cut their socks, and what was your reaction?
I can't remember who it would be. I don't know how late in the football.
I remember Freddie, Vic, cutting the seams of the socks before you'd wear them. Do you remember that? He used to turn them inside out and just trim the seams. Yeah. Again, I with my sceptical head on, there was quite a well-known sock company that started producing blister socks.
Yeah.
And I know they got into a few of the lads, in general. And I think that started it. And then it became the craze. I mean, with England, we had in Portugal in 2004, for World Cups and things, they used to produce brand new kit for every game. And so you'd have a brand new pair of socks for every game.
Yeah.
The temperature for our first game was 105 degrees or something. Yeah. And the players all blistered their feet, horrendously blistered their feet. So then we went for a phase where we made the kit man wash the socks before the game. But then the players used to complain, we're using second-hand socks. Yeah. And we were doing it.
Like we started up, we can never win with the players. Never win.
And at the end of the day, as I said earlier on, once they walk over that white line, you've got to take away any excuse.
Yeah.
Steve McLaren had this saying, no excuse environment. And if they're moaning about their socks, they've got an excuse.
Yeah,
so change the socks. What difference it makes? Change the socks. And it used to be a nightmare for Vic. Yeah. And I'll tell you where it got worse when they changed the rule about having the cape the same colour as the socks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Vic, how many years did the kit team or the manufacturers come out with these turquoise kits or lime green, and we would have to go and get paint made just for.
I was always coming into the medical room to say, Gary, we've got to get a different colour.
Yeah,
and I think we've gone through almost every colour already. He said, and he'd come up with it. So that was always good.
Yeah, he was hysterical, and it used to drive us mental, absolutely drive us mental.
Vic, obviously you won 32 trophies? Is that correct? I've seen 32.
32 major trophies. Yeah,
32 major trophies. What's the major standout moment out of those 32, or moment, should I say? Because
they should have won.
2007. 2007 was the standout moment, obviously, because we won all four, and we were in Europe at that time, so we won the European as well. Still the only team to have won a European women's title. I think it might change this year. I hope it does for the person that I think will win it, because she was obviously my coach at the time when we did win it, and that was Emma Hayes at Chelsea.
So, they got a tough draw though, Vic, didn't they?
Sorry?
They got a tough draw. They got Wolfsburg, didn't they?
No, but I think that's probably the easiest draw for them now.
Yeah.
In the week I see the last week's football, and Bayern Munich are stronger than them now. They beat them 4-1 last weekend. So I think it's the best draw that they could take, and it takes Man City, the two French sides, Paris Saint-Germain and Lyon, into the other side of the draw.
Sure. Yeah.
In terms of getting to the final, I think she's got a great chance, and I wish them well.
Vic, how do you think Emma would fare in the men's game if she was offered the opportunity?
She's very good at what she does, obviously. Otherwise, she wouldn't be the success she is now. I thought at one point Hope Powell was in line to get a job in men's football. I'm not sure what club it was. It might have even been Grimsby or somewhere like that was being touted around, but it never developed. And but I don't see why a female can't take the men's team.
Yeah,
but I'm not sure whether they would have the money that she, for instance, Emma would be getting at Chelsea.
Yeah.
So if it was a lower league side, they wouldn't be able to afford that sort of manager.
Yeah.
In all fairness to her.
Yeah.
I still think it's only going to be a matter of time, though, Vic.
Because I do.
Year after year, people like Emma, and they're showing that there are good women's coaches out there, and they're being successful. Yeah. As the women's game becomes more professional, there'll be less reason not to take them on, wouldn't there?
Yeah, of course. No, as I say, it would have to be a good job offer financially now, though. Whereas before it may not have been.
No.
Because I mean, I did my job for next to nothing.
Yeah.
In fact, nothing at times. Because all I was employed for was to do the kit. So I didn't get more money for doing the women. So for me, it was a love job, and that was it. And and I don't regret 1 minute of it. In all fairness, but I could have possibly got the chief scouts job as well at Arsenal, as they keep on telling me, Steve Rowley and Steve Burtonshaw and that. But I was happy in the environment I was doing, and it was successful. And Gary,
you'd have to change out your shorts, though, Vic, wouldn't you, to do that? So.
Well, that's right. Yeah. So I couldn't do that, could I? Let's be fair.
Even back in the when I first met you as a shorts, socks, and Adidas Gazelle man. We have to write last, me and Vic, because I was the opposite. As a physio, I would never wear shorts. Right. Because if I was running on the pitch, I just regarded it as being unprofessional. I would wear tracksuit bottoms. Yeah. So you would have, in the heat of the summer, Vic in their nice brown legs, shorts, and me in tracksuit bottoms sweating my cods off. And then in the freezing cold, I'm sitting there nice and warm, and he's sitting there freezing his cods off. So we had some funny times. And what was
yes, would we?
Say that again.
We wouldn't change them.
Yeah. No chance. I wouldn't change the day. We've both been so lucky with what we've done.
Oh,
you must experience some unbelievable moments at the club. What is your standout moment, both of you?
What with the men?
Either or.
Well, my standout moment is with the women's. Obviously, winning that in that year, we won all 4 trophies, and I've got a photo in my hall here that with me with all the trophies plus the charity shield, and that was probably the one standout moment in women's football.
Yeah. Julie Flaherty in the squad then?
Yes.
Yeah, we had her on the show a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
lovely person.
Yeah,
lovely.
Good girl. Family are lovely as well.
Yeah. You go?
You're never going to beat 89.
I was hoping you was going to say that.
Nothing will ever match 89. But look, I'm a bit like Vic. Really, you could go off loads. I mean, one of the ones that I remember more than anything was my first trophy, but not the final. When we scraped one against Liverpool, was the semi-final, beating Tottenham over 3 games.
Yeah.
The second leg at White Hart Lane, scoring 2 goals in the last 8 minutes. That's one of the best nights I've ever had. But then you go on from there, winning the cup double in '93, Vic.
Yeah.
98 doing the double. 2002 doing the double. The Invincibles 2004.
Cup final when we should have lost to Man United. And
we got battered, didn't we? We got
it on the last pen. I think that's the first time I ever ran on the pitch. And I ended up getting engulfed underneath all the bodies.
Yeah.
Could barely breathe.
Yeah. We just saw his legs dangling out of the top.
Pull me out.
Yeah. So look, I think I'll say exactly the same thing, and I think that's probably you'll get it from both of us, our passion for the club, and that's never going to go. And we've had some difficult nights, but you don't remember them. You only remember the great nights, and we've had some really good nights. But I've got to say it again. I'll say it while Vic's on here. The earlier days for me were the best because we were a really tight family.
Yeah.
Backroom staff and the players. We were really tight. You knew all their families, you knew their kids, you knew all the ground staff.
Yeah.
It was a family.
Everybody in the offices, we knew them.
Oh, yeah. You treated half of them, didn't we? We ended up treating most of them. And every time they had an injury, they'd come and see us. So they were fantastic days.
When I done the YTS course in the JVC Centre, we went to the final in Paris, and we came back. We used to come to the Christmas party at the Grosvenor House Hotel. We come back on the plane from the Cup Winners' Cup final when Naeem scored. You can't get any closer than that. A close knit family.
No.
I think I was behind Stefan Schwartz. I'm like,
tree trunk legs. He had his calves were bigger than my thighs.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but that's what it was like, Vic, wasn't it? It was the same.
Yeah, it was a family then. It was a family.
It was a family.
And it's sad to see the present day, and it is very sad. And I feel for everybody. I'm a supporter. Deep down, I'm just a supporter. But I feel for everybody that supports the club at the moment because it's so many highs and lows. And you don't know where you're going to land up. But hopefully tomorrow we land up with 3 points.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, because I know
he ain't a Tottenham supporter, is he?
No, far from it. He's in his element right now. Don't worry, he's an Arsenal fan. But before we get into that, I've got some questions in here from some of the people listening in. So Jay's asked, Gary, did you notice a club issue that Lamps and Rio spoke of when you was with England?
Yeah, it's really funny when you're heavily involved in it, you didn't really notice it, but when you reflect back on it, you can remember moments when, I would say when we were in the qualifying games, you felt it more while the season was going on. But once we got to the tournaments, you didn't notice it. But for qualifiers and things, you did tend to see the players would stick together.
Right. One here for you, Vic, from Simon says, Did Vic play in the same team as Roy Hodgson at Tonbridge? If so, did he show signs then as a future England manager?
I know Roy really well, but I didn't play at Tunbridge with him. We played in the Sunday sides prior to that. Over Wandsworth, we used to play Stanford Rovers and all them sort of teams that were really top sides then, Sunday sides. And I played with Roy then. I've still got a photograph upstairs that he was on the end of.
You gave it to me to take him one of the England camps, Vic. Do you remember?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And he signed it up for me. So
yeah.
And we're still good friends, Roy and I. So it's
nice man, really nice man,
lovely man. Yeah, really successful football man. You know.
Yeah.
No, indeed, especially to be still managing Crystal Palace Premier League side at this point in time is fantastic to see.
Absolutely. Yeah.
One here from Kai for you, Gary, says, any advice as a physio to someone struggling with back injuries from weak hamstrings?
I would say that the back issues are probably causing the weak hamstrings, and you've probably got it the wrong way around. And again, it's about strengthening. And the problem that most people have is they don't strengthen enough, both their back and their hamstrings. And they feel fine, they feel strong, but actually when they get on the pitch, they overload and they get repetitive hamstring strains. And it's normally due that the back is the issue rather than the hamstrings.
Okay. And then we've got a double.
I'm surprised you've not got a card out, Gary, for the clinic, because he's just opened up the clinic.
I was going to wear a clinic t-shirt tonight, but I didn't think it would be a free advert, so I thought I'd be.
Listen,
you can and put it on there, you know.
Yeah, I normally wear the badge on the t-shirt, but I thought I won't do it tonight. So
I'm sure Bill would advertise it for you.
This is how I got on it, because Covey knows Emma Stone, and it was Emma that contacted me about doing the show tonight. So yeah,
lovely.
All back injuries and hamstrings injuries are fully welcome at the Lewin Sports Injuries Clinic.
That's what I like to hear.
www.lewinclinic.co.uk. Hashtag at the Lewin Clinic. Is that what I was supposed to say?
That's much better.
There you go. There you go.
You said commercialism wasn't going to be in my life.
I could be your agent, really.
Exactly.
Oh, no, yeah. Hey. You got me married, mate. That's enough.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
This one is for you both. This is a double question as well. So on to tomorrow's game. Question to you both. Who wins the derby tomorrow? And thoughts on the direction the club is going?
I think we'll win tomorrow. And I know a lot of people will go against that, but I still think when we played over there, we were naive in what we did. You know, with an injury and people walking off the pitch before the ball's out of play and things like that, that can't happen. But and I'm sure he would have put that right, Mikel. But I just got a funny feeling that we might turn them over tomorrow. I hope so.
Yeah. My answer to that is depends which teams turn up.
Yeah.
Because despite their last 3 or 4 games, Tottenham have not been dissimilar to what we've been like. They've been very inconsistent.
Yeah.
I agree with Vic. I think we're going to turn up tomorrow. I think the win the other night was a big win for us. And yeah, tomorrow they'll turn up. And if they do, we can beat anyone. The problem is we're not turning up game after game after game. And that's been the story of the season so far. But no, I think they're injury free at the moment with all their big hitters. So I think tomorrow but Arsenal got nothing to lose tomorrow. Because where they are in the league now, they just go out and have a right go. Whereas Spurs, obviously, they're chasing top 4. With other teams getting results, then they're under pressure to get a result tomorrow, which I think will suit us. Rather than being a counter-attacking team, they're going to have a go.
I think if we win tomorrow, we're back in it. You know, top 4.
Yeah,
we've been 9 points behind. Who is it? Chelsea, maybe with a game in hand.
Yeah, I think Everton have lost again tonight, haven't they? So.
Yeah, Everton lost. Chelsea drew today. So
there's been much bigger margins closed, doesn't there? Bigger gaps closed in the past.
But we're still giving silly goals away, Bill. And at the end of the day, we keep teams in the hunt all the time, and you know we should be finishing teams off. Once you get we always said once you get your foot on, put your foot on their throat, and they never get up again. You know, and, that's the way we used to go about the games. But now it seems that we want to play our way out of the 18-yard box, and it doesn't work, because if you haven't got the personnel that can do it, sometimes you've got to just belt the thing.
I'm glad you said that, Vic, because I've been shouting that from the roof all week on social media. Sometimes you just got to, regardless of what Arteta's trying to do, sometimes there's got to be a plan B, and if it's not on, you just got to go. Surely
that should be common sense. In all fairness,
Edison at Man City, that when he put that ball straight down the middle when they scored against Tottenham.
Didn't
see much football then.
Exactly. So one for me, without shutting down the show, without shutting down your clinic, and without never being allowed back into the Arsenal again. Can you tell us one sort of story from your time at Arsenal that maybe we haven't heard before, like a funny story or?
I've got loads. I've got to try and work out which ones I can put on air. Hang on.
I thought about mine. I can't.
I'm gonna. You might have heard it before, but I've got to say one of the funniest stories I've been associated with was when Tony Adams was learning to play the piano. And for weeks and weeks and weeks, the players used to share rooms in those days, and he used to room with Ray Parlour. So every time we went to a hotel, Ray Parlour would come downstairs or come to the massage room and say he's on that poxy piano again. And Tony said, no, when I get it right, you're going to come up and I'm going to play you this tune. It'll be, you wait and see. And every week he's at it again. And eventually he said, right, I'm ready, Ray. Tonight's the night. You're going to come and listen to this tune. And he went up there, and Ray sat there thinking he was going to do something, I don't know, from Mozart or one of these big composers. And Tony then goes and starts playing on his piano. She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes. Ray Parlour run downstairs to us and was crying, absolutely crying. And then said to me, Gaz, I can't share with him anymore.
That was a bit. I suppose you can talk about the George Graham era. I'm sure there's going to be a few stories in your locker about that era. About the Man United game away, Limpar.
Oh yeah, when it all kicked. I mean, you think now, if that happened in today's game, both teams would get banned for the season, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
And but, I mean, they were the days when I watched a clip on an ice hockey game that Colin showed me the other day, where they just stood back and watched two guys beat the living daylights out of each other. And football used to be a bit like that, the good old bad old days. Man United away. That was we won 1-0 that day, didn't we? And we had a point taken away. They had 2 points taken away, and we still went on to win the league.
Yeah.
Some of the other ones with George. I mean, we used to do team bonding trips in those days, and the rule was that we'd play on a Saturday, you'd fly on a Saturday night or a Sunday, and you go to Portugal, Spain, and the lads would go away and have a few drinks, and then you wouldn't train. You'd have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday off. Wednesday you'd go for a run. Thursday you'd do a bit of football. Fly back on a Thursday afternoon. Train Friday, play Saturday. And the rule was, if you won on the Saturday or got a good draw that the manager's doing was good draw, then they booked the next one. Wow. I can tell you, we never lost a game after a trip. And it doesn't matter what state we came back in, we never lost a game. But you couldn't do it nowadays. Yeah, with social media, you just couldn't do it. Front page, back page.
I can remember back in them times, and I was just sort of doing the reserve sort of type of thing, and I was in your room, and I went, and I think it was Anders Limpar that he always used to have a go at, wasn't it, George?
Oh, yeah.
He used to murder him, poor sod. And I'm in Gary's room. I went, Gaz, oh, he's got to give him a G up today. He's got hat-trick. Remember? He scored hat-trick in the first. Everton, I think it was.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got to really give him a buzz now and give him a lift. He come in, he give him the biggest shouting out and scream at. I couldn't ever think of. And I can't
He
believe
didn't pass the ball at the time, didn't he? He didn't pass
we had the door closed, but with a little bit on edge, and we could hear it. And I thought, Christ Almighty, what's he got to do to get a well done? Like, you know what I mean? He slaughtered him. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Hat-trick.
Before we wrap up, would you both be able to give us your best all-time 11s?
You read my mind.
Right, I'll go for David Seaman in goal, Vic.
Yeah, I would.
For me, it'd be a close one between Lee Dixon and Lauren, but I would probably go for Dicko.
Yeah, I think the back four at that time would have to be the back four, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Tony Adams, Baldy, and Nigel.
Yeah.
You go ahead of Ashley Cole.
I personally, my back four would have been Lee Dixon, Tony Adams, Sol Campbell, Ashley Cole.
Oh.
That would have been my back four.
Yeah.
Midfield, Vieira's got to go in the midfield straight away. I used to love Robert Perez. He was one of my favourite players of all time.
Yeah.
Front two's got to be Henri and Bergkamp, I'm afraid. Very close, followed by Righty. So how many's of that? I've got two. I've got Vieira. I've got Perez. I need two more.
Petit would be in my team there.
Petit and Vieira were
the old midfield.
It was the cover.
I thought he changed the game for Arsenal, didn't he? Really, when they come in.
Yeah. And we had one player that for 18 months was unbelievable, Mark Overmars.
Yeah.
He doesn't get spoken about half as much for me as an Arsenal player, Overmars.
Yeah, again.
He doesn't get spoken about half as much as he was.
No, for 18 months, he was sensational. Absolutely sensational. Yeah. I would probably go for Perez and Overmars, Vieira, Petit, Henri, Bergkamp. Not bad 11, is it?
Oh, too terrible. I think your phone's going, Gal. Is Righty on it, I think.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Ask me if you come on.
He'll be after you. He'll be at your office on Monday morning, opening the door.
Yeah.
Vic, is there any changes you put in there at all? Anything you would change up?
I don't think I would. No, I mean I'd have Righty in the team because he's just, for me. I watched Legends on the TV the other night, with him, and he was unbelievable. He's so funny. He's a funny guy.
I would love to have seen Righty and Henri.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I would love to have seen that. That would have been firework.
Oh, he was top as well, wasn't he? Righty, at his best in his early years.
Yeah,
fantastic, and a great guy as well.
And what a passion for the club.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I remember coming into the middle.
Throw the shirts out the window at a testimonial game.
Oh yeah.
I'm thinking, what's going on there? All the crowd are outside. All of a sudden, I go in the bathroom and the window's open and Righty's going, they're all screaming at him. And I said, Righty, do us a favour. I've got to now go and get all them shirts from the store. He thought it was great.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the day that we sold David Rowcastle to Leeds, and him coming in and crying. He just cried.
Yeah.
Obviously, him and Rocky go back a long, long way.
Absolutely.
And he just cried. So his passion for the club, phenomenal.
Unreal.
Who would that team get managed by as well? I've got to ask.
Who was it managed by?
Like that 11 that you mentioned. Who would it be managed by? Would it be George Graham or Wenger? There's only one gaffer, isn't there? Really?
Yeah. It'd have to be Arsene. I don't think George will put up with the passing of the modern.
Yeah.
All beating team 6-3. He'd be like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, I know. Yeah, 1-0's enough. 1-0's enough. Stop. What are you doing?
Lock the door. 1-0 up.
Yeah.
And what was the greatest goal you've ever seen scored by the Arsenal?
Goal?
Yeah. Your favourite ever Arsenal goal?
Bergkamp, Newcastle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to throw another one in there. Henri, Madrid.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
We beat them 1-0 away, and he got the ball on the halfway line.
Yeah.
Another one, Henry versus Tottenham, when we were defending the corner.
And he ran from the halfway line and slotted it, and then ran to the other end again. He was still on the run to our supporters.
Best ever hat trick.
Bergkamp again.
Bergkamp, Leicester.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Our shavens weren't so bad though at Anfield.
Oh.
Yeah, that was after my time. Vic was there then, but I was 3 minutes at telly at the time.
And what was the ball that Rocastle scored from the edge of the box? Was it against Liverpool or Man United? And there was like no backlift. He just smashed it top corner, opposite corner.
That was United, I think.
United.
That was like Charlie George, wasn't it, in the final against Liverpool?
Yeah.
No backlift.
Yeah.
Outside the box. I was in the stand as a supporter that day, and I thought, good God, how has he struck that? You know, there was nothing. There was no backlift whatsoever. It was just boom.
Did they let schoolboys in Wembley at that time then, Vic?
Yeah, I was on my own. I was 46, Gal. Leave off.
Gentlemen, it's been absolutely. The time's got the better of us.
Okay.
It's been absolute an honour to have you both on. 2 invincibles, 2 legends of Arsenal. It's been great for me. I don't know about Clint, but it's been unbelievable.
Well, it's been good. Apart from the 2 mentions of Newcastle, it's been good.
Sorry.
Yeah, we won't mention the Newcastle 4-4
Oh,
when we were 4-0 up.
Oh, what now? Let's talk about that game, shall we?
That was the team talk half time ago, wasn't it? We said, come and try and let them back in the game, otherwise it's not a game.
I thought I will do. We'll mention 98 double beating Newcastle 2-0 on my birthday, May the 16th.
Now he's suffering now. He can't hear nothing now. All the best, boys.
Yeah,
thanks, fellas. Yeah, it's been great. Had a great evening.
All the best, Bill. All the best to you, Dad.
Thank you.
Yeah, take care. All the best. Cheers, fellas.
Ah, mate.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Oh, I forgot to ask about the 4-4 as well. Anyway.
Loads of nice comments as well. Thank you for joining in with the comments. And
yeah, loved it. Thank you very much for everyone listening as well.
I mentioned in my chair. If you want to sponsor the show, if anyone wants to sponsor the show, it's about time we sort of spoke about sponsorship now, because it's getting more and more popular each week. And obviously we want to help you, and obviously it will help us as well. Even if like merchandise, cups with your name on it, we're always drinking on it. If you had your name across there, and we're drinking out of it. And I want to say thank you to Ralph Lauren for providing me with this jumper today.
We're not giving them free advertising. We give everyone else. No way. To echo what you said again, fantastic show. And again, like Covey said, if you want to sponsor the show, by all means, please drop either of us a message. And obviously you can see your brand, your logo alongside this video as well. So I really enjoyed that one. And
me too.
Yeah, I know you did. I know you did as well. As always, guys, make sure you just drop a comment in the comment section below. If you're watching this back,
share it as well.
Share it. Sharing is caring, and just stay tuned. You joker. I'm giving it free exposure. As always, it's good to see ya, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll see you next week.
Thank you.